My wife's open marriage proposal unveiled a decade-old secret. I always believed that trust was the cornerstone of any marriage. For 10 years, I thought my wife, Emily, and I had built an unshakable foundation. Sure, we had our arguments and rough patches like any couple, but I never doubted her loyalty or commitment to us. That's why her casual suggestion one evening hit me like a freight train. We were sitting on the couch, winding down from a long day. The TV was on, but neither of us was paying attention. I was flipping through my phone when she turned to me, her expression unusually serious. "Ethan," she began, "have you ever thought about an open marriage?" The words hung in the air like a bad joke, except she wasn't laughing. I froze, unsure if I'd heard her correctly. "An open marriage?" I echoed, my voice tinged with disbelief. "Where is this coming from?" She shrugged, playing with the edge of her sweater. "I've been reading about it online. A lot of couples say it brings them closer. You know, exploring new experiences without losing what we have." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Emily, we've been married for a decade. Are you saying you're bored?" "It's not about being bored," she said quickly. "I love you, Ethan. I'm just curious. Don't you ever wonder what it would be like to have some freedom? To see other people?" I stared at her, trying to process her words. This wasn't the Emily I knew. The woman I married had always valued honesty, commitment, and family. This sudden desire for freedom felt out of character, almost alien. "No," I said firmly. "I don't wonder about that because I'm happy with you. Isn't that enough?" She hesitated, her eyes darting away from mine. That hesitation planted the first seed of doubt in my mind. Something wasn't right. Emily dropped the subject after that night, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She started acting differently, spending more time on her phone, taking late-night work calls, and being unusually distant. It wasn't blatant, but it was enough to make me suspicious. One evening, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Normally, I would have ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me. I picked it up and saw a text from someone named Lila. "I can't wait to see you again. Last night was incredible. **. My heart stopped. Emily didn't have any close friends named Lila, and the tone of the message didn't sound platonic. My hands shook as I scrolled through their conversation. The more I read, the clearer it became. Lila wasn't just some random friend. She was someone Emily was seeing, someone she had been seeing for weeks, if not months. But it didn't end there. As I scrolled further, I found a photo that made my blood run cold. It wasn't a picture of Lila at all. It was a man I recognized instantly. His name was Ryan, and he wasn't just anyone. He was Emily's ex-boyfriend from college. The same Ryan who had cheated on her, humiliated her, and left her heartbroken. The same Ryan whose shadow had loomed over the early years of our relationship. My mind raced with questions. Why would she go back to him? What did he have that I didn't? And most importantly, was this what she meant by exploring new experiences? Had her suggestion of an open marriage been nothing more than a cover for her affair? I confronted her that night. She was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping a glass of wine, when I dropped her phone in front of her. "Who's Ryan?" I demanded. Her face turned pale, and for a moment, she looked like a deer caught in headlights. Then she recovered, her expression hardening. "You went through my phone? That's what you're focusing on?" I shot back. "Not the fact that you've been sneaking around with your ex?" She sighed, setting her wine glass down. "I was going to tell you, Ethan. I just didn't know how." "Tell me what? That you're cheating on me? That you've been lying to me for God knows how long?" "It's not cheating," she said defensively. "That's why I brought up the idea of an open marriage. I thought it could be a way for us to." "To what?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "To give you permission to sleep with him? To make your affair acceptable." "It's not just about sex," she said quietly. "Ryan and I, we have history. Unfinished business." "Unfinished business?" I repeated, incredulous. "You're married, Emily. To me, whatever you had with him should have stayed in the past." She didn't respond, and the silence that followed was deafening. It was in that moment that I realized how little I truly knew about the woman I had spent the last 10 years of my life with. The days that followed were some of the darkest of my life. Emily moved out to clear her head, leaving me alone in the house we had built together. I tried to focus on work, on anything that could distract me from the pain, but it was impossible. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of her, photos on the walls, the scent of her perfume lingering in the bedroom, even the stupid coffee mug she always used. I started questioning everything. Had our entire marriage been a lie? Had she been pining for Ryan all along, waiting for the right moment to reconnect with him? Or had I somehow failed her, driven her into his arms without realizing it? The answers didn't come easily, and Emily wasn't offering any clarity. When we did talk, our conversations were tense and full of half-truths. She insisted that she still loved me, that she didn't want to lose me, but her actions said otherwise. She was still seeing Ryan, still clinging to the fantasy of what they could have been. One night, after weeks of sleepless nights and unanswered questions, I decided to confront Ryan directly. I found his address online, a small apartment on the other side of town, and drove there without telling Emily. I didn't know what I hoped to accomplish, but I needed to look him in the eye and understand why he had come back into our lives. When he opened the door, he looked genuinely surprised to see me. "Ethan," he said, his tone guarded. "What are you doing here?" "I think you know," I replied, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "You've been seeing my wife," he sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Look, man, I didn't mean for this to happen. Emily reached out to me." "That doesn't make it okay," I snapped. "She's married to me." "I know," he said, his voice tinged with regret. "But you have to understand, she and I have a connection. We always have. She told me she felt trapped, like she couldn't be herself with you." His words stung, but they also filled me with a quiet rage. "Do you even realize what you've done? You waltzed back into her life and tore apart everything we built together." He didn't have a response, and for a moment, we just stood there in silence. Finally, I turned to leave. "Stay away from her," I said over my shoulder. "Whatever unfinished business you two had, it's over now." That confrontation was a turning point for me. I realized that I couldn't control Emily's choices or Ryan's actions, but I could control my own. I decided that I deserved better than a wife who couldn't appreciate the life we had built together. I filed for divorce a week later. Emily was shocked, even tearful, when I told her. "I never wanted it to end like this," she said, her voice breaking. "Neither did I replied. "But you made your choice, Emily. Now I'm making mine." The months that followed were painful, but also liberating. I moved out of our house and into a small apartment closer to work. I reconnected with old friends, threw myself into hobbies I had neglected, and slowly began to rebuild my life. It wasn't easy, but with each passing day, I felt a little stronger, a little more like myself. As for Emily, I heard through mutual friends that things with Ryan didn't last. Whatever spark they had reignited quickly fizzled out, leaving her alone and full of regret. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated, but mostly, I just felt sad. Sad for the woman she had become, and sad for the life we could have had. Today, I'm in a much better place. The pain of Emily's betrayal has faded, replaced by a newfound sense of independence and self-worth. I've learned that love isn't about clinging to someone who doesn't value you. It's about finding someone who sees your worth and cherishes it. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm hopeful. And that, I think, is the most important thing.